It was a Tuesday morning, the kind of Tuesday that feels like every other, but deep in the woods, something was wrong. A drone hummed high above the trees. It saw the world in a grid of greens and browns. Its pilot, a man named Alex, was just looking for a new perspective. He was a hobbyist, a man who loved puzzles and patterns. He wasn't looking for a body, he wasn't looking for a crime, but the drone's camera, a tiny unblinking eye in the sky, caught something, a flash of blue fabric, a shape that didn't belong. Alex zoomed in, his heart starting to beat a little faster. He didn't know it yet, but he had just stumbled upon the first thread of a web woven by a master manipulator. A secret that had been buried for years was about to break the surface. This is a story about how the biggest secrets can be unraveled by the smallest of things. It's not a story about brilliant detectives or high-tech police labs. It's a story about ordinary people. People you would pass on the street without a second glance. A man flying his drone for fun. A delivery driver on her daily route, seeing the same houses, the same streets, day in and day out. A young woman who thought she had permanently deleted her old computer files. They were three strangers, living separate lives. They had no connection to each other. They had no idea that their simple, everyday actions were about to collide. Bringing down a criminal so cunning, so careful, that the professionals had given up hope. The official investigation had gone cold years ago. The case file was thick with reports, interviews, and dead ends. Forensic experts had combed the area. Detectives had chased down every lead. They had followed the rules, used the best technology they had, and still came up with nothing. The police believed the case was unsolvable, a perfect crime that would remain a mystery forever. They had looked, but they hadn't truly seen. They were searching for a monster, but the real monster was hiding in plain sight, protected by the routines and assumptions of the world he had so cleverly exploited. Each of them held a single, seemingly insignificant piece of the truth. Alone, their discoveries meant nothing. But together, these tiny clues would become a key, unlocking a door that everyone else thought was permanently sealed. Alex Miller was a man of routine and quiet precision. By day, he was a cartographer for the city. The job suited his meticulous nature. He spent his hours staring at maps, tracing lines, every street, every building, every park. His world was grids, coordinates, absolute certainty. But on weekends and quiet weekday mornings like this, his perspective shifted. He traded flat, two-dimensional maps for the dynamic, three-dimensional view from his drone. Flying was his escape. A way to see his hometown from an angle no one else could. A hobby that combined geography and freedom. A digital bird soaring on his command. He started with a cheap toy quadcopter, a birthday gift from his wife. But Alex quickly became obsessed. He upgraded piece by piece. Flight dynamics, camera settings, GPS stabilization. His current drone was professional grade, shooting pristine 4K from hundreds of feet. He wasn't just flying, he was documenting. That Tuesday morning the air was crisp and still, perfect for flying. He drove to a familiar spot on the edge of Blackwood State Forest. He went through his pre-flight checklist with methodical care. Calibrate compass, check battery levels, secure propellers, test signal, strength. Everything was perfect. The drone lifted off with a gentle hum, climbing straight into the blue. Later that evening, after dinner, Alex sat down in his study. This was the second part of his ritual. He opened the first file and began to scrub through the footage, looking for moments of exceptional light or composition. He was halfway through the second video file when he paused. He had spotted a flicker of something unnatural. He rewound the footage, frame by frame. There it was. In the clearing with the mossy boulders for just a few seconds of video was a small patch of brilliant, synthetic blue. It was mostly obscured by a low-hanging branch, almost perfectly camouflaged. It was a glitch in the pattern of nature, a single, jarring note in a perfect symphony of green and brown. Alex leaned closer to the screen, his curiosity piqued. What was it? Maria Flores knew the suburb of Northwood Hills better than the people who lived there. For 5 years she had driven the same delivery route, 5 days a week, in her familiar brown truck. She was a creature of habit. Her life was measured in packages, street names, and the subtle shifts of the seasons. Maria was not just a driver, she was an observer, a silent witness. Her interactions were brief, a quick nod, a polite smile, a signature on a screen. But in those fleeting moments and in the long hours spent alone in her truck, she saw everything. She noticed a pristine lawn starting to grow weeds. She noticed lights in a house staying off for days. It was a Monday afternoon. About a year before Alex the drone pilot would find the blue duffel bag, Maria was on her final stretch, driving down Forest Ridge Lane, but as she rounded the final curve something caught her eye. It was a car, a dark blue sedan, parked on the side of the road. What was unusual was its location. It was pulled over on a desolate stretch where there were no houses. People didn't park here. She slowed her truck. The car was clean, but nondescript. There was no one inside. The silence was heavy. The next day, Tuesday, Maria drove her route as usual. As she turned onto Forest Ridge Lane, she instinctively looked toward the spot where the blue sedan had been parked. It was gone. A week later, however, it was back. The same dark blue sedan in the exact same spot. It was another Monday afternoon. This time Maria felt a prickle of genuine unease. Once was an anomaly, twice was a pattern. This began a strange, silent ritual. For the next several months Maria would see the car. It was almost always on a Monday, sometimes a Tuesday. It was always parked in the same spot. It was always empty. 2 years passed. The blue car stopped appearing. The memory of the Monday car faded. Then, one evening, she was watching the local news.
A new piece of evidence found by a civilian in Blackwood State Forest. Police asked anyone with information about any unusual activity in the area to come forward.
Unusual activity. The words echoed in her mind. The dark blue sedan flooded back with perfect clarity. She realized that her silence was a choice. By not calling, she was deciding that her fear of looking foolish was more important than the possibility, however small, that her information could help. Taking a deep, shaky breath, she dialed the number. Chloe Davis lived her life through a screen. At 23 she was a graphic design student, a digital native who was more comfortable in the virtual world than the real one. Among these was a silver laptop, a machine she had used all through her late teens. 2 years ago, it had started to fail. And finally, it succumbed to a fatal hard drive error. She assumed everything on it was lost forever. Chloe's friend Liam was the opposite of her. He asked if he could have her old silver laptop to cannibalize for parts. Chloe, happy to clear out some clutter, readily agreed.
You know, the drive itself might not be the problem. The data could still be on here. Mind if I try to pull the data off? It's good practice for me.
A few days later, Chloe received a text from Liam. Chloe clicked the link out of mild curiosity. It was a digital excavation of her teenage years. Then she noticed a folder that was different. Its name was a jumble of random characters. She clicked on it. Inside were hundreds of image files, but their thumbnails were all broken. She tried to open the first one. An error message popped up. She dragged one of the broken files into her professional photo editing program. An error message appeared, but this one was different. Chloe clicked yes. The screen flickered, and then an image slowly began to render, line by line. It was a photo of a person, a man taken from a low angle. He was standing in what looked like a forest, and he was smiling. Chloe's blood ran cold. She didn't recognize the man, but she recognized the photo. It was a picture she had never taken. It was a ghost. She frantically tried to open other files from the corrupted folder. She managed to recover 3 more images. One showed a close-up of a blue duffel bag. Another was a blurry shot of the interior of a car. The last was a selfie of the same man. She remembered something. Her laptop had been stolen once, from a coffee shop. It was returned to the shop a few days later by an anonymous person. She opened a new browser tab and searched for news articles about the case. A recent report mentioned the discovery of a small blue bag. Chloe felt a wave of nausea. The blue duffel bag in her recovered photo, the man in the woods, it was all connected. This was evidence. The digital files were the final, undeniable link. The police now had all 3 threads. A place, a method, a person. Detective Miller stood in front of a large whiteboard in a sterile conference room dedicated to the Blackwood Forest case. The board was a chaotic collage of the impossible. Branching out from this image were 3 distinct lines. One line led to a high-resolution drone photo. Another pointed to a hand-drawn map. The third connected to a screenshot of the corrupted file directory. Alex's drone had provided the physical crime scene, the where. Maria's quiet observation of the Monday car had given them the methodology, the how. Chloe's accidental data recovery had delivered the final devastating piece, the who. The police ran the recovered photograph of the man through their facial recognition software. The initial results were inconclusive. But the investigators had more than a face. They had a profile, a ghost to sketch. He was patient, meticulous. He was bold enough to steal a laptop, use it, then return it. Using Maria's testimony, they focused their search. They pulled motor vehicle records for every dark blue sedan in the county over 5 years. The list was thousands of names. The breakthrough came another way. A young analyst had an idea. Chloe's laptop was stolen from a coffee shop. Pull the shop's financial records. For days she sifted thousands of transactions, and then she found it. A recurring customer. His name was Arthur Lee Finch. His driver's license photo matched the distorted laptop image. That was the name they had been searching for. Arthur Lee Finch was the last person anyone would suspect. He was a respected middle-aged librarian at the city's main branch. He lived in a modest, immaculately clean house. He had no criminal record. On the surface, he was the model citizen. He drove a dark blue sedan, parked in his garage. He'd purchased it used, for cash, harder to trace. The detectives realized Finch's profession was his greatest tool. He'd researched Blackwood Forest for weeks, studied old survey maps to find a hiding place invisible from any trail. Detective Miller and his partner approached Arthur Finch as he was leaving the library one evening.
Mr. Finch? My name is Miller. I was hoping to ask you about a hobby of yours. I know you're interested in remote parts of Blackwood Forest. We found something of yours there. A blue duffel bag.
I think you're mistaken. I don't own a blue bag.
That's what we thought. But it's funny. We have a photograph of it. And a photograph of you. It was recovered from an old laptop that went missing from a coffee shop a few years back.
Finch's face went pale. His carefully maintained composure began to crumble.
And the car, the dark blue sedan. We know you park it on Forest Ridge Lane. On Mondays, mostly. A delivery driver on her route. She has a wonderful memory for things that are out of place.
He had been so focused on fooling the professionals that he had been brought down by the amateurs. The ghost had been seen. The unraveling was complete. Arthur Lee Finch was undone by the routines of others. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a ghost finally caged in a world of concrete and steel. The consequences of his capture rippled outward, touching the lives of the 3 strangers who had inadvertently brought him to justice. Alex Miller still flies his drone, but his flights are different now. His hobby, once a solitary escape, has become a form of vigilance, a way of keeping watch. Maria Flores continues to drive her delivery route. She knows that the smallest observation, the detail too insignificant to mention, can sometimes be the most important thing in the world. And Chloe Davis has a new relationship with technology. She understands that nothing is ever truly gone, that digital data has a life and a permanence of its own. The case of Arthur Finch serves as a chilling and powerful lesson. It demonstrates that the most elaborate plans can be dismantled by the unpredictable forces of chance and simple human curiosity. Ultimately, this is a story about the quiet power of paying attention. They were simply people who noticed a small glitch in the fabric of their everyday reality and refused to look away. And so, the forest stands as it always has, its secrets now laid bare. But the silence that hangs over the trees feels different. It is no longer the silence of a mystery unsolved, but the quiet echo of a truth revealed. It serves as a final, haunting reminder, even when the professionals have given up. There are other eyes watching, there are other memories being recorded, a ghost that is about to be woken up.